Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me back. For those that were here last time, I was speaking about fraud. My specialism is fraud prevention and cybercrime. But today, I'm not going to talk about any of that at all. I'm going to do something completely different. Give a bit of a personal view and take on what it's like to be a tech entrepreneur and startup. So looking at the more human aspect of things. One of the challenges, as I'm sure you all know, when you start up a new business, especially for the first time, is that you might have a great product or a great product idea, but you don't realize necessarily all the other stuff that comes with starting a new business and kind of making it successful. So much there that you will do for the first time or learn as you go along. And there'll be some things that you're really, really good at and other things you're rubbish at. And for me, I'm not a very confident sales guy. I'm quite happy to do the networking bit and kind of discuss the product, get product out there, but I'm not very good at the negotiation part. So that's my personal weakness. So we've got a whole load of life stuff going on anyway, as everyone does, and then we've got all these things that we need to think of as a tech startup. And so I actually liken us to be very similar to rock stars, which might sound a bit weird, but bear with me. So, are we the new rock and roll? And the reason for this is that, like rock stars and musicians, we're creative. We have to be creative to be successful. We like to celebrate our successes, and I think it's really right that we recognize our success as we go along on our journey. And a perfect example of that is last week when Built-in Knots turned 1 and had their first birthday celebration. I was certainly enjoying a few glasses, and really excellent food there as well. I must go back. So yeah, we celebrate our success. We have to be disciplined, otherwise we're never going to be successful. Much like musicians as well. The most successful ones are highly disciplined to keep to keep their success. And we're very passionate about what we do. But there's another aspect to it all for musicians, and I think as well for us as tech startups and entrepreneurs. There's something in common with all of these musicians. Does anybody know what that might be? They all have mental health problems. Specifically, they're all bipolar. Back in Jimi Hendrix's time, it was known as manic depression. And I think that is probably something that's not spoken about very much within our community, because coming with that creativity, there's a tendency there to be somewhere on the mental health spectrum. And I know this because I'm bipolar. So I've had to learn over time how to deal with that and kind of work with my condition. To give you a little bit of insight, and this isn't a scientific explanation, it's just my own personal way of explaining it. To give you a bit of insight, regular people will be happy and sad over time, but they'll stay within this kind of green zone on the whole. Stuff happens, you might pop into a particularly happy phase or go into a slightly down phase, but more or less you're going to stay there. For someone who's bipolar, our differences between being really happy or really sad is much more extreme, and that can cause us problems. So when we're in a depressive phase, we suddenly lose our energy, lose our mojo, can't get rid of negative thoughts, and if it gets really bad, then it can turn into harmful actions. But also, there's the upside as well. And you can ask this of any bipolar person. We really love this bit here because we have a lot of energy and a lot of creativity, and it's really productive. But the danger is that if it's not controlled, you'll slip further and further up. And when that happens, for me, it's like I lose the filter for what is a good versus a bad idea. I'll start too many projects, too many different things all at once that I can't possibly complete. Quite common as well for people with bipolar. I might go on a spending spree and then regret it afterwards. And again, when it gets too out of control, it can also lead to physical problems as well. So yeah, that's my little insight to that. It's taken a long time for me to actually get diagnosed as being bipolar. It's something that only certain doctors can actually determine. And so going back many years before I started my first business, I'm here on my 30th birthday party. I may look happy, but things are not right in the head. And we're very good at hiding how we are feeling, so we might appear to be normal when we're anything but. For me, I was working for a company here in Nottingham. It was my first job out of uni, which I had for 10 years. I used to work for Wellbeing. I became a product manager, which I'll go on to in a bit. And there were some great times with it, but there were some very stressful times with that job role. I also got married, but it was a bit of a disastrous relationship, a bit of a toxic relationship. So there are triggers sometimes that are due to professional circumstances, and they can be triggers due to personal circumstances. When I was a product manager for Wellbeing, I got the opportunity to go all over the world with this particular product. And it sounds glamorous, and occasionally it is, but more often than not, it's extremely tiring, exhausting. You're at home one day, and then you're in a different time zone the next day. You suddenly get asked to go from Turkey to Greece unexpectedly when you think you're going home. Yeah, it all kind of builds up, and unfortunately, my employer, they weren't very good at monitoring that was a bad situation for me to be in. So I ended up having to take some time out. At that time, I got diagnosed with depression. And so it wasn't until many years later that I finally got diagnosed as bipolar. And they're subtly different conditions. And it means that now that I recognize that, I get the correct treatment, and it's kind of like opened up my eyes and things make more sense as to why certain things have happened. Something that I've come to learn is the importance of having a hobby or an activity that is entirely different to the day job. And for me, I ended up combining my love of live music with photography. I was living in London for a period of time, and these are a bunch of independent musicians that I became actually reasonably well known as a photographer for a bit, so it ended up being a bit of a side hustle. But yeah, just a few photos that I took over time. Things haven't always been bad. I'm now in a new relationship. It's not a new relationship, it's been nearly 10 years now. But so my partner's dealt with my ups and downs really, really well. And later this year, we get married. So the message that I want to get across today really is that being a tech entrepreneur is tough. There's a lot of responsibility. We have to deal with a lot of complexity with different regulations. We have to learn as we go when faced with new tasks. But if we are working under pressure, we really need to be mindful of our own mental health, because when it degrades, it will affect our performance, it will affect our judgment, And ultimately, it'll end up affecting our physical health as well as our mental health. We also have the risks with digital overload, constantly on the phone, constantly switched on, trying to do work at all sorts of stupid hours, responding to messages, an acceleration of decision cycles that's powered by AI. It's said that women can multitask better than men, and they probably can, but in reality, none of us are great at multitasking. If we keep having to switch from one task to another task, it actually becomes really inefficient and is really taxing on the brain. So for me, downtime, a lot of people treat downtime as a reward for getting things done. That's the wrong approach. We need to recognize that downtime is a requirement and we should be planning it in. So with my events, risk and compliance events, I now embed in an element of wellness and mental health. So I'm working with some really interesting people that can give different insights, different strategies for managing your health, so that we can all be more productive and more successful. And I tie it back to the music theme from earlier. This lady here I'm working with, Gina, she used to be a professional Bollywood singer, but she also had a mental health episode and she completely lost her voice, couldn't sing. She's now built a new business that utilizes music to help maintain mental health. And so we're partnering. I had her over, she lives in Belgium now, but she came over to London for an event of mine a few months ago, where she demonstrated some of her techniques and gave a live music performance as well, so that was quite nice. There's also, this is the event that I did back in February in London. There's also a local charity, local to here in Nottingham, called the Bipolar Lift. And I attend some of their events. They do group meetings, they do one-on-one sessions, and they raise awareness. And in fact, the guy who runs it was going to come along today, but he got tied up with another appointment. If anyone is interested, I've got some flyers there, and I've got his contact card. But they've been really great in kind of supporting me and others. And what I've learned from that experience is the range of people who have the same condition as me. There's a bit of a perception that it's a certain type of person, but I've learned now that it's every type of person, actually. So it's been quite an eye-opener to see and share our experiences. And so, that's just a little insight that I wanted to give to you today. So I hope you found it useful.